Hello and welcome back if you've been here before. Not long ago I did a video with 10 inexpensive albums that I would never part with. It was a very successful video. Some of you asked me to add more albums, right? To do another video with more albums, right? So that's what we have here today. Before I start, I want to welcome Richard Elliott, who's a new subscriber to the channel. Right? Thank you for joining. I'll try to cover different genres, different eras and different places, so there's something for everyone. Most of them are classics, you probably have them, right? But for newbies or people who are, just getting into vinyl, they have a good starting place here. So, without further ado, let's go into jazz, New York City, 1960s, Jerry Mulligan, Nightlights. Yes, I know this is not the American cover. This is the American cover, but it is very difficult to find, especially the mono pressing for this album, or even the stereo for a decent price. But this Dutch pressing sounds very, very good, right? Very good. It holds up very well, and it's really inexpensive. 10 seconds into the album, and you know you're in for a treat. Smooth jazz, captivating, you'll never forget, right? And so much so that I even have a second copy, right? I've got a spare copy so I can play as much as I like, which is very often, right? It was issued on the Mercury label in Europe, and as I said, they're very easy to find for very decent prices. Another jazz album that I really love is this Going Home by Archie Shepp and Horace Parlan. Again, there's the American pressing and the Dutch pressing that has the same cover. Both of them sound fantastic. This is blues, gospel, mainly gospel revisiting, and it gives you the thrill, right? Goosebumps. I sometimes wonder how can some people do something so beautiful, right? Such great music and something that will be with you forever, right? And for generations to come. As I said, the American pressing can get quite pricey, but this is the European version on Steeplechase Records, which is a very famous label and does an excellent job, right? So you can find them around for 15, 20, right, without any problem. Right? Rock and roll, Mr. Larry Williams. I think this man hasn't been given the credit he deserves, right? He has written some great rock and roll classics, later performed by the Beatles, by the Rolling Stones and some other bands. He had, let's say, a difficult life, and I just, I picked this album to make a statement, right, for people to revisit what Larry Williams did, right? Most of the vinyl pressings of these albums are not very good sounding, right? They come from digital, but Specialty ACE Records, right? Specialty in Germany, got the original master tapes and reissued these albums from the master tapes. They're really, really cheap and sound fantastic. Now, a true classic, right? Ike and Tina Turner, River Deep, Mountain High. You haven't got a copy, right? Put on your clothes, walk down to the record store and get it, right? The American first pressing might be a tad expensive, but this has been reissued in the UK, in Europe, from master tapes, and it sounds great, right? This is a European copy. I think it cost me something like 10 euros, right? And it's on the A&M Records, and Phil Spector Productions, right? You know, the engineer Phil Spector, who also worked for the Beatles. Now, an album that usually gets overlooked, and a singer that gets overlooked, Mr. Bob Seger, who is usually called the poor man's Bruce Springsteen. I don't agree with that. I love some of Bob Seger's songs, and his live performances are absolutely fantastic. One track for this album, Against the Wind, became a huge hit, right? Back in the day when I first bought the album. But all his songs are very well written, very well penned, and are part of American heritage and music, right? Get this album anywhere you live, because there are hundreds, thousands of copies around, and very cheap. Right? Now, a soundtrack, right? Soundtracks can be very tricky, right? Some of them sound awful because they're not made from the original master tapes, but from copy tapes. But others sound great, and when they do, it's a way to know different bands and different albums, and from that point, move on and find out more music. This is, as you can see, FM, the soundtrack. It sounds fantastic. It's been released on MCA Records. It's inexpensive anywhere, right? And you get here tracks like More Than a Feeling by Boston. It keeps you running, Doobie Brothers, Life in the Fast Lane, Eagles, Billy Joel, Just the Way You Are, Tom Petty, Breakdown, Queen, We Will Rock You, Linda Ronstadt, Tumbling Dice, and so on and on and on. And on top of that, you got FM by Steely Dan, and this track is in their core catalog, right? So you can buy this one if you're a completist, or if you want to listen to the famous Steely Dan track. It's a double album, right, with lots of pictures and a poster, right? And as I said, very, very, very cheap. Right, and a great introduction for young people to some music. Now let's travel to England, around 1970. This is Spooky Tooth, a band that's not very popular, and I think that's quite unfair because they released great albums, right? This is my favorite. It's got a cover of I Am the Walrus, the Beatles song, and Elton John's Son of Your Father. And you got Chris Staten on guitar, and Mike Harrison on vocals. Chris Staten does the piano as well. It's very nice blues, very nice music. This is an Ireland first pressing from 1974, and they're really, really cheap. Since we're in Britain and talking about Elton John, Tumbleweed Connection. This is my favorite Elton John album by man. There's not a weak track here. Wonderful rock band supporting the artist. It was recorded in France with Ken Scott involved in it. The sound is phenomenal, but don't forget to get a first pressing, right, an A1B2, because later pressings don't sound as good. It also comes with a fantastic booklet, right, with the lyrics. I was lucky to find this album because the previous owner, and very carefully and very wisely, what he did was keeping the lyrics instead of being, because the booklet is stapled, right? So he very carefully unstapled it and kept it as an inner sleeve, right? Fantastic. So it's in mint condition, right? By today's standard, this album is not expensive at all, right? If you buy it in the States, well, there's shipping costs, but you can order some more albums to make up for it. If you're in England, if you're in the UK, look carefully because you can get a copy for very little money. Now, this one may come as a surprise to you, is Chris de Burgh, Spanish Train and Other Stories. I paid £1 for an ear copy of his album. Christopher became famous in the 1980s with, you remember Lady in Red, right? So people tend to think of him, if they don't know his previous output, as a balladeer, as a romantic balladeer, and nothing else, right? But fact is, this man started writing rock, blues and ballads in the 1970s, and very beautiful compositions, right? I picked this one, it's my favorite, where you got Spanish Train, Lonely Sky, Patricia the Stripper, Spaceman Came Traveling, Old Friend, I'm Going Home. Beautiful melodies, really captivating. You'll play this album to death, believe me, and he's got a few more on the same vein before he changed genre and did Lady in Red. And last but not least, as I usually do, yes, the Beatles, yes, always, yes, the Beatles. This is the 1967 to 1970 compilation album, the Blue Album, as we all know it. Nothing special, everybody knows it. You've got to have a copy of this album because there's some singles that are not on the core albums, like Ballad of John and Yoko, Old Brown Shoe, Get Back, the single. But I wanted to bring your attention to this copy. This is a 1978 Sonopress from Germany. Right? It's in near mint condition. I bought it very cheap, and to me it sounds even better than the UK pressing and much better than the 2014. And the good thing about this German pressing is that you can find them around for very cheap, right? Even in near mint condition. Look at this one. This one is almost brand new, right? I played it, there wasn't a single tick or a pop or any kind of imperfection. And I think I paid like something like 25 or 30 for it. And to my surprise, it even sounded better than my original UK, as I said, right? So, if you haven't got a copy of this one, splurge for it. It's really good. That's all for today, right? I hope you enjoy it, and remember, it's always your money, your ears, and your choice. Thanks for listening, and take care.